What's up, YouTubers? Frank Macaluso here from Garageaholic. Today on part 3 of the N54 maintenance series, we're going to be working on the subframe. At first, I was going to just purely remove the subframe from the assembly, but I've decided that in order to replace the oil pan gasket and the coolant pump, the two major things we're going to be taking a look at in future videos in part 3, is that I don't think that we need to remove the entire subframe in order to access that. We can probably do it without that. And honestly, I don't want to remove that either because there's a lot that's connected to it that's going to make things a lot more difficult if we do remove that. So I just want to see what we can do to just move things out of the way and aside just enough so we can access the oil pan and the coolant pump without having to do that. Now, I know that there's a lot of other videos out there that kind of cover this subject. In fact, there's really not that many of them out there. So I'm hoping that you guys find value in my version of the video such that you can at least do the bare minimum to get access to what you need to replace these items. So let's just take a look at the subframe and talk about what is needed to be removed in order to access those things. Thanks, guys. Oh, it is dirty under here. And there is a lot in the way. But today we really need to focus on getting the subframe removed. So that involves removing this cross brace here, the subframe, and accessing this puppy right here. This is the oil pan. Obviously you guys know that, but we do need to access it and remove things in order to get to it. And hopefully we can take this oil pan and bring it down and over backward and remove it that way. So what we need to first do is support the engine from above so that we can start removing some of this stuff. And I'll show you exactly how we do that. All right, so what we have right here is a Harbor Freight engine support. This is a 1,000-pound support. And since it's already being supported by the transmission, it's basically just supporting the engine and teeter-tottering it, right? So it's going to be rotating about the transmission mounts. But what we need to do is pull this engine up, because pulling it up allows us the room underneath in between the subframe and the oil pan, but it also allows us to get and remove the motor mounts. We need to do the motor mounts as well. So in order to access and get to the subframe, we need to support the engine. So this guy is just basically screws right on here onto the N54. Put in a couple threads until it gets tight. And then this guy with a chain supports it. Now we're going to bring this up a little bit more, just like that. And that allows us to get the support that we need for the engine. So let's get that all rigged up and pull the engine up. Now a single support is fine here. Like I said, this is 1,000 pounds. A single support will be more than enough to handle the weight. And what we want to do is wrap it through the chain link, through this. Just make sure that it's just kind of being held in by a good amount of chain. Bring this up, just like this. I want you to know that I have already loosened the two 16mm nuts on the top side of the engine mount so that when I do lift this up, at least it has somewhere to go and it's not putting strain on the subframe. And now we can bring the car on the lift and start taking a look underneath. Back under the car, I'm going to start taking items off of the front subframe. A lot of clips and things. There's going to be a lot of hardware. So when you remove things from the front subframe like this, and you're going to have all these different types of hardware, please be sure to label them. You can put them in a plastic bag, you can label them and mark the bags, you can put them in little tins and things like that, whatever. I've decided to create project drawers from an old Harbor Freight toolbox that I'm not using, and I put the parts there. So I plan on doing that in, that's my electrical one. I'm going to be adding it to here. All right, so I'll know exactly which hardware is which, and I could also label it as well. That way I know I don't have any leftover hardware from this job. That would be scary. So I know that was a lot of time lapses, but all that I did was basically remove the steering rack. I cleaned things up a little bit. I removed the lower thrust arms, and I have not removed the lower control arms yet. I want to see if I can just basically just drop the front subframe without having to remove the lower control arms. And if I can get that access that I need, then basically I'm good to go. So I've confirmed that the motor is being suspended, so lowering this front subframe should be okay to do. So I think I'm gonna give it a shot and see what happens. The answer is yes. You can see everything is kind of moving a little bit. The engine is not moving. That is obviously being suspended from up above, so I have no concerns about that. But removing just the thrust arms gets me what I need. The lower control arms can still remain as such, and the oil pan is getting one step closer to having been removed, but I'm not going to do that right now. In fact, that is the end of this video because I wanted to expose and get the steering, to get the subframe lowered. And that's all that I did, and that's all that I wanted to do in this video. There is another video on removing the oil pan from here on out. There's another video on removing the coolant pump from here on out, and there will also be another video to remove and replace those downpipes as well. So guys, there's a lot more coming. Stick around. Take a look at the other videos that I have in this series. This is the N54 maintenance series, guys. My name is Frank Macaluso. I'm getting out of breath from holding a camera. Why? That sucks when you get old. It just sucks to get old, guys. Just don't do it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. My name is Frank Macaluso from Garageaholic. Take a look at all the other videos in this series. I hope you find them useful, and I hope you learn something. Later, guys.